Below the Surface, The Mind Mapped, Article 2, by the Mercer Journal. Article 1 established the waterline, one continuous structure, the threshold dynamic, what sits below active rather than dormant. Article 2 goes below the waterline and describes what's actually there. One clarification before proceeding: this isn't the Freudian unconscious, not a sealed vault of repressed material requiring excavation. What's below the waterline is closer to something modern memory science has been mapping carefully for decades: a system that operates continuously, automatically, and largely independently of conscious effort. Not storage, a working system. The intuitive model treats the subconscious like a filing cabinet. Things go in, they sit there, occasionally something is retrieved. This is wrong in the same way that the two-system model was wrong in Article 1. What's below the waterline is not passive storage waiting for retrieval. It's an active processing system running continuously, producing outputs, shaping behavior, all without requiring conscious access to do so. The clearest evidence: skills. Riding a bicycle, typing, tying shoelaces. These were learned consciously, effortfully, with attention fully engaged. Once learned, they operate below the waterline, executed without conscious recall of the learning, without conscious monitoring of the execution, often without the ability to even describe how they're done. Ask a skilled typist where the letter Q is, and many will struggle to answer immediately. Their fingers already know. The knowing isn't stored awaiting use, it's continuously running the execution. Language works the same way, at a larger scale. A fluent speaker produces thousands of grammatically correct sentences without consciously knowing the rules that make them correct. Ask why a sentence is grammatical and most people cannot answer. They can't state the rule. They can only generate it correctly, every time, without trying. The structure governing the output is below the waterline. Only the output itself crosses above it. How it gets there. Here's something precise and useful. Most of what operates below the waterline got there by first crossing above it. The standard developmental sequence. Something is learned consciously, effortfully, with the threshold high and attention fully engaged. Through repetition, it sinks. The waterline doesn't need to rise for it anymore. The system has learned to execute it without crossing the threshold. What was once effortful becomes automatic. This is sedimentation in its simplest form. Conscious effort becomes subconscious execution through repetition. The first time you tied your shoes took total concentration. The 1,000th time required none. The action didn't disappear, it sank. It shapes without announcing itself. The more significant claim: what's below the waterline doesn't just execute learned skills, it actively influences what crosses into conscious experience and how it arrives, without announcing that it's doing so. The research is clear on this. Prior exposure to something can shape how easily it's processed later, even when there's no conscious memory of the original exposure. The influence is real and measurable. The person experiencing it has no idea it's happening. This connects directly to Article 1's emotional signal example, the unease before reasons assemble, the sense that something has shifted before anything visible changed. That's the submerged system actively waiting incoming signal based on accumulated structure, then sending the output up as feeling before any conscious process is run. The system below the waterline isn't quiet. It's constantly waiting and shaping what reaches conscious experience, and the shaping almost never identifies itself as shaping. It just arrives as how something feels. Why this resists direct access? A natural question. If it's this active, why can't it just be accessed directly? Why is there a waterline at all? Because the systems appear to rely on partially distinct processing pathways, not simply the same process running at different levels of intensity. This is why damage to conscious memory systems can leave automatic skill execution completely intact. The two modes of operation don't appear to be one mechanism running at different volumes. They depend on different access routes, continuous within one structure but reached differently. This matters for the model. The waterline isn't arbitrary or simply a matter of effort. It reflects something structurally real about how these two modes of operation work. You cannot simply decide to access the subconscious processing pathway directly, the way you decide to recall a fact. The access route is different. The only reliable window, as the mind unbuilt established, is the second eye, watching the outputs as they cross. Close. What's below the waterline is not a vault. It's a working system, continuously active, shaping what surfaces, frequently more durable than what operates above the line. Most of it arrived there by crossing the threshold first, under conscious effort, and then sinking through repetition. And it resists direct access, not because of repression, but because it appears to run through different pathways entirely. This sets up what comes next. How does identity specifically sediment into this system? Not just skills, not just grammar, but the deeper architecture of self. That is where the model becomes something more than a description of automaticity. Next, how identity itself becomes sediment, and why some experiences sink while others stay forever near the surface. The Mercer Journal is an independent reader-supported platform. You can back our work at ko-fi.com/WEMercer. That's ko-fi.com/WEMERCER. And thanks for listening.